Yo, what's up? What's up? What's up? Happy Thursday, everybody. Hello, and thank you for being here. Hello, Arif. I see you on the chat. Hello, everybody. I hope you guys are having a great day today. Happy Thursday. It's busy week. You know, everybody's working, everybody getting things done. I'm happy that you guys have decided to join me and are here today. And like every Thursday, we're going to be creating something new today, something exciting. Drop, say hi in the chat if you're hanging out with us. I'd love to see you guys hanging out with the chat, talking to other people, and also like letting me know how you guys are feeling and doing on Thursday. Like I said, it's another Thursday. I've had a really busy week. For those of you guys that don't know, I own a small design company, and I always have a ton of work that I'm doing with different companies, different people, developing brands, help companies level up their creative. And it's always exciting for me to be able to work with other people, but it's also very exciting for me to be able to take a little bit of time off of that kind of work and go and do this kind of work, which is more creative and it's a little bit more expressive, and I get to hang out a little bit more. So today we're going to be creating something new, something exciting. But before we do that, we're going to go into Discord and we're going to be looking at some of your submissions. I know I saw one from RF, so I want to check that out, and I want to see that. RF, it's 3 a.m. in your place, man. I'm sorry it's so late. Hello, Nick. How you doing? Good to see you from the East Coast. What's up? It's early for you. I mean, not really that early, but it's like 4 p.m. What's up, Lucas? Good to see you. Good to have you here. Happy Thursday. Yeah, let's jump into Discord real quick to see if we have any submissions. I know I saw one from RF, so I want to go ahead and take a look at that. Let me switch up to Discord. If you don't know how to get to our Discord, I'm sure a moderator would throw it in and help you get there. Hello, Marsha. What's up? Good to see you. Dino, what's up? It's good to have you. Good to see you guys. But yeah, like I was saying, just getting a lot of work done this week. I've had a ton of meetings, ton of emails. Yeah, it's something that, with time you come to love and embrace. It's just, the thing of like helping other people with their creative careers, helping, companies achieve what they need to achieve. And that's something that I really enjoy doing. Okay, let's take a look at the submission from Arif over here. I'll give you guys a couple seconds if you want to submit something. I see Lucas is saying that he's finishing up his work today and he'll post it on Discord later to see. If you do it right before the show ends, I can review it. If not, we'll see it next week. No pressure. Let's see this work from Arif. It looks like he had this original image and then he turned it into this peaceful escape. Good job, Arif. We've, like we said before, we've done different things here, and I see how you are implementing different ideas using AI and implementing now text and doing different things like that, filters, and being a little bit creative, a little bit fun with this kind of like 80s but also futuristic theme, which is really cool. So thank you for submitting this, Arif, and thank you for letting us see what you're working on. Really cool. Last week we did this challenge where I had to spin a wheel every 5 minutes and get something different, and this is what we landed on. It was really fun to do, but yeah, we had some hiccups along the way, quote unquote, because the wheel kept spinning and telling us what to do, and that was kind of challenging, but it's part of the game, right? Marsha's saying just spell my name wrong. Don't worry, Marsha. I literally get my name spelled wrong literally 99% of the time. Like I've gotten emails from like companies that I'm working with, and we're like 20 emails in and they're like, hey Miguel, how you doing? And I'm like, wait, I'm not Miguel. But it is what it is. But I know we are friends, and I know you're always on the show, so I know you know how to spell my name. All right, let's go into Photoshop without further ado. And then we can start creating something new today. I'll tell you guys what I want to create and what I have in mind. And then we can go with something and create something. And as always, you guys can interrupt me anytime with the chat and ask me questions. Tell me that what I'm doing is wrong. Whatever you want to say is cool with me. We'll have fun doing that. And also, if I can answer any questions for you or show you how to do any effects along the way, or if I'm moving too fast through something that you want to get a little bit more explanation on, that's totally cool too. Okay, so I'll show you guys. I have a few images here that I want to be working with. I have this image, and then also I have these other images that are a little bit more interesting. They are kind of like, you know, I made with this with AI. So they have a few things that are a little bit, you know, not working great. But I feel like we can cut them out and make something cool with them. I feel like it could be a cool thing to do. So yeah, we could go into it. I'm thinking if we should go with, honestly, this image over here is my least favorite, although it's a really cool image. The angle is kind of like not that great for creating something. I would rather have something more symmetrical like this, or something a little bit more creative like this. So maybe I can go in, start creating what I'm thinking that I want to create with these images. You guys can give me some feedback along the way, and tell me what's up, what were you thinking. I'll keep an eye on Discord to see if anybody posts anything out between now and when the show ends. And like always, I'm starting inside of Photoshop. My document size is 4800 by 6000. I'm doing it at 300 dpi. I know I have it at 150 here, but it's 300 dpi. And then the color profile, normally I'll go with sRGB, or, you know, I'll just go with image P3, which is a really good one for screens, and a lot of the products are, a lot of the LED screens that are out there right now. In the past, I used to click do not color manage, and it would just be any color that you want in there. So yeah, feel free to go whichever option you want to go with. Let me see what I chose for this one specifically for color. I don't even know how to see that once I got the image going. Let me see if I can. I guess I went with sRGB because that's the setting that I have as a standard here. Yeah, let me see if I can switch it to don't color manage just to see some of the differences. sRGB, for those of you guys that don't know, sometimes it color manages a little bit too intensely. It mutes the colors a little bit to get them closer to what a print color would be, slightly. You see, I painted this more bright one on top of the other one, and you can barely see it. I think it's cool because it mutes it a little bit and it helps you. But if you're planning on doing something that's totally digital, you could definitely go in with a little bit brighter colors if you wanted to, and using a color mode like this that is a little bit more wild in a way, right? Let's see what I'm missing on the chat. I see Frank is here. What's up, Frank? Good to see you. What's up? I already say hi to Nick. I see you guys are like making up names for each other. That's cool. Okay, so let's go back to these images, and I'll show you guys what I wanted to originally make with these images, what I had in mind for it, and maybe we can get creative with it. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and do this image in one document and this image on the other one. I'm not promising that I'll finish both of these posters right now on the next hour, but why not? Let's try it. You know how we love to fail on these challenges. The first thing that I'm going to do here is that I want to go ahead and click remove background. That's going to remove like most of it. So you can see it did a pretty good job. All the edges look pretty clean. If we turn the image back on enough, there's only a couple things that I can see that I can improve. Like this artifact that's coming out here. Obviously we don't want that, so it's cutting it off. And then this glow over here is something that maybe we can add back into the photo. These are AI made images, so they have a few artifacting going on that doesn't look great. But for this exploration that we're doing today and for having fun, it's just great. What I'm doing right now is that I'm painting back some of those things, just using a brush. You know how I love to use just a soft brush in Photoshop, and I'm painting over it, which is great. So yeah, this image, I want to do something where I mix a lot of like, obviously what's going on with this image with more colorful, I'm tripping over these cables down here, with more colorful things happening in the front and the back. I feel like it's a very, like the image feels more like a action movie type of deal that's a little bit serious. And I want to bring that environment down by making it a little bit a little bit more friendly. Hashtag love to fail. Yep, that's how I feel. Especially with the show, it's like, is there like what I was saying at the beginning? I don't know if you guys were here when I was saying this, but it's just fun to be able to create without having any type of like constraints and being able to fail. I feel like a lot of creatives like want to create so much and want it to be so good all the time, and you're not allowing any space for failure, and that is producing burnout on the long run, because not everything that you come up with is going to be excellent. And if you're only working doing creative work for your clients or for the industry in general, you definitely need that space to fail, right? Space to explore, space to fail. I feel like it's very necessary, and a lot of people are not really taking that into account. So it's something that I would allow some time to fail, for sure. When you add some AI into images, does it match the resolution? No, it does not match the resolution. It has a standard resolution, so it tries to go as high resolution as it can go, but it doesn't really match. It matches the tone and the mood a little bit. Like for instance, like Block this here, and it kept the same texture that I had underneath. So it does match I guess visually it matches the resolution, but in theory, the pixel count on that image that produced on top of it might be higher or lower. I don't know if that makes sense, but that's the way, the best way that I can explain it. Cool. All right. I don't know if we should try to improve the quality of this helmet. I don't think wasting time doing that would be fun. The way that I would do that, I say I'm not going to do it, and then I proceed to do it. But I just want to, if somebody has any doubts of how I would do that, I would click on select the area that I want to change. And I'm going to select Google Gemini 3.0. And I'm going to say improve helmet quality. Like always, I don't know if I'm spelling improve correctly or not, but hey, we'll go with it. Yeah, something special happens when you don't take things too seriously, Nick says. I totally agree with that. And I not only I feel like something special happens, but I feel like it is so necessary. Like we need to create some space to fail with creativity, because this is what sparks new ideas, right? Most of the more amazing ideas that we can have come from failing and creating a happy accident in the way that gives birth to something a little bit better. All right, so this is what it did. It went over the image that we had, and it improved the helmet a little bit. There's some areas that are definitely better, like the glass up here, and it kept the same structure that we had before. It just made it more realistic and cool looking. And I like this. I think it's good. We've talked about this before, but sometimes what AI does when it produces an image on top of another one is that it messes up the lines where they come together. So I'm going to quickly go over that, and I'm going to remove background, and I'm going to try to line it up as much as possible, which I think right there is pretty well lined up. And I'm going to fade it a tiny bit with my brush. Again, I'm using a black brush here inside of my mask, which makes it easy to just blend things together. And then we have this thing going on right here. Yeah, what do you guys think? Do you like the first original one or this one? I feel like this one has a lot more character. The quality of the generation is a little bit better, and the quality of the glass and all that is better. So I think going with that will be great. Generative AI is there to sort of formula you follow, like the phrasing. When prompting the generator, what sort of formula do you... Okay, yeah, I'm sorry. I read that in the wrong order. What sort of formula do I follow? To be honest with you, well, I think I've talked about this in the show before. One of the things that I do the most is that I put in, like I work with ChatGPT to try to get close to what I'm thinking in my brain that I want for the image. So I kind of describe what I want the person to look like, and then I start describing what I want the environment to feel like, and then from there I start creating the prompting like that. Sometimes, because I've done this so much, I have a ChatGPT that I have dedicated to generating images. I don't generate it in ChatGPT, but I have it there to where I am describing the images all the time. So it kind of knows what I want. So sometimes I go like, hey, in the same mood, with the same description, camera angle, like lighting, produce an image just like this and like this and like this. So that is also an easy way to do it. I'm going to be adding hair here, and I'm going to do it like in this solid white. I think we've done this before. Here I do a lot of my work. I feel like it's one of the signatures of what I do in my work and what I like to do. So, you know, pen tool is going over these. And again, we have to start moving a little fast to be able to have something finished in the next 45 minutes, which is awesome. We have plenty of time, I feel like. I'm being lazy and trying to do it all in one, like essentially one stroke. But ideally, I will create the bigger strokes here and then come in and do more of the individual hairs. So that's why we have more things like that. But you see me do this live. This is how I do it with the pen tool. Just clicking with the pen tool. Maybe I'll bring this one down a little bit more. I don't really have to follow what was there before. After I finish putting this on, nobody will know what's underneath. And that's something else that I can do. I could probably go in and clean up some of these hairs that are going to be outside of the white hair that I'm doing. Sweet. I'm gonna keep doing it over here. I feel like we can clean that up a little bit more. Maybe I want to do this over here. What do you guys think? Like instead of like leaving it like on the other side, I'll do this. And then I definitely want to follow the helmet cuts over here. Although I'm going to add a shadow in a second here. I want to make sure that I am somewhat following the structure of the helmet. Sweet. Okay. Some of this down here I don't like. I want to fix it a little bit. Just need to match up a little bit more. Sweet. Something like that would be good. You see, there's a little bit of the hair that's coming through the bottom of it. And then also over here, I have to fix it a little bit. I'm just going with the same design that I had going on, just cleaning it up a little bit. The hair is so diva. Yeah, it is. It's softening the photo a little bit, and then I want to do something really colorful in the back. I already have in my brain what I want to do. I'm gonna have to take it into Illustrator in a second, and we're gonna be doing some because it's like a kind of military type of this, like, I guess not design, but the whole ethos of it. It feels a little bit like military, or a little bit like, I don't know, like 80s mecha driver or something, pilot. I feel like I should do something that feels like a friendly explosion in the back, like a cool, colorful thing that feels like exploding behind the model over here. So that could be cool. I'm going to add some shadows into this hair because that's going to bring it all together. And then I'm going to clean up what's underneath. So all we want to do here to do an effective thing is we want to color pick the darkest color that's here. So the darkest color that is a transition over here, you don't want to pick pure black because that was never in the image. But once you do that, once you pick the darkest one here, you can go in and do some of this. Soft brush again, and do some of this soft brush. There's ways to make this way better. Like if you wanted to make it look like there's volume on the hair, you can go back in and erase a little bit of it. Right now, the forehead is looking way brighter than this because we probably went too hard with the shadows. So let's go back and delete it a little bit. Idara, thank you so much. Appreciate it. I'm glad you're liking it. Okay, so I'm deleting a little bit what I did a second ago. Maybe I need to go with the flow a little lower. Every time you're painting shadows or things like that, it's important to do the flow lower because you'll paint slowly, little by little. Not the opacity. The opacity should always be left at 100, but the flow down so that when you're drawing, you're essentially like drawing on a transparency, quote unquote. Okay, so what we're gonna do now is that we have to do a little layer in between the hair and the model. And on that one, we're going to be, first of all, painting it like the model's face color. And then we can add a little bit of a shadow. I'm doing this a lazy way. The best way would have been to generate something there or either clone or generate something where we get rid of all this hair the best possible way so that it's very clean. I feel like, you know, if I do this right now like this, it's good enough. The next thing that I want to do is that I want to duplicate this bad boy that we created, the hair, and then put it on top of the photo like this. So I'm masking it to the photo, and then I'm going to be moving it down, stretching it down, and that's going to be our shadow. So I'm going to make a selection, and then I'm going to make it in a new layer. I'm going to choose this color over here. It's like the shadow color. And then we're going to be drawing over it. My flow is super low because that's where we set it up. Obviously, these has to be there. Okay, on top of it. Over here, the shadow has to be a little bit stronger. Yeah, what we're doing here is that we're creating shadows in the face now. So we're going to create them like this at first. It's going to be a little bit unrealistic and flat. And then we'll do a little trick to make it look a little bit better. Deselect, and it looks like this. It looks like a paper cutout. That's not what we want. So let's go ahead and go filter and go blur gallery. And I think it's the field blur. Yep. The field blur lets you add dots of blur where you want them and make it, you know, a different blur level somewhere else. So I'm going to add one here that's almost at 0%, and one here that is at I can't even see what it is. But what it does is where it's close, the hair is closer to the face, it will fade it, and where it's further away, it will blur it out like this. So if we click OK on that, it's going to look like that, and then we're going to switch it to multiply. And then we're going to bring the opacity down because it cannot be that obvious. Another thing that we're going to do is we're going to do a mask in it. Go back to black. And now we're going to be deleting a little bit of what we did. Let's bring the flow down, all the way down. Yeah, what we're trying to do here is trying to not to make it so obvious, right? Yeah, something like this would do, I think. It is still a little flat, but I feel like that's part of the vibe that we're going for. All right, and we're about to start doing that colorful stuff that we want to do. I know I have another image open on the other side. Maybe what we can do is with this next step that we're doing, we might be able to bring in some of those elements that we create into this image over here. All right. Okay, cool. Yeah, so it's sort of like this. It's getting there. What I'm going to do is that I'm going to go ahead and save this. Let's go ahead and save it under, it doesn't really matter where I save it. I just want to make sure that I do some kind of name that I remember. And then I'm gonna go into Adobe Illustrator. How much do you guys like Illustrator? I get mixed, like people, kind of like that are super into Photoshop. Because I know you guys know that this is primarily a Photoshop show. I know that some people that love Photoshop don't like Illustrator sometimes. To be honest with you, I started when I first started doing design. I was like big Photoshop user. I still am. Like I use Photoshop so much. But when doing design work for clients, I feel like Illustrator is the thing that I use the most. So in reality, like my everyday life, I'm using Illustrator a ton because I'm making a lot of logos, a lot of systems, a lot of stuff like that. But even right now for the creative stuff, I'm starting to like really love Illustrator because I get to do more vector work and things like that. The most I use and I really like it is the more I use, the more I like it. Says Marsha. Nick says 100% Illustrator and Photoshop for the razzle dazzle. The razzle dazzle. And Lucas says that he posted his contribution to Discord. Okay, we'll check it out before the end of the show. I don't want to forget. Yeah, but Illustrator for me was a learning curve at the beginning, because I started working on a magazine. I started doing like a magazine work, and then I had to create a bunch of stuff on Illustrator and InDesign, and that was like probably 10 years ago or so. No, more than that. Jeez, I'm getting old. That was a while ago. So I had to learn a lot of Illustrator and a lot of like InDesign. And yeah, right now I feel like, before it used to be more passionate thing. Like, hey, like you either an Illustrator person or a Photoshop person. And right now it's more of a, depends on what you do is what you use. And I feel like that's the smartest way to see it, right? Photoshop 85%, AI or Illustrator 15%, says Frank. Yep, I've that feels accurate for me in the past. Right now, I feel like I'm like so much in. I jump all the time from one to another, but it's just interesting, right? Because they do so many different things. That for layout work and stuff like that, Illustrator is way better. All right. Cool thing about Illustrator and Photoshop is that you can literally click save and it saves it and it puts it in Illustrator. So if I click save on this, I was fixing the hair a little bit. I go back into Illustrator and it's going to ask me to update. I'm going to say yes, and magically it's going to change the things that I changed in Photoshop. That's a beautiful thing to do inside of Photoshop. And InDesign, we don't talk about InDesign. Yeah, we don't talk about InDesign. You're right about that. InDesign is its own beast. I really respect it. It's just, it's a lot. You gotta be in it. All right. So I'm really loving this kind of like shape builder star thing that you can add more things to it, or like take away points from it, or like make them big or small like this. I really like this. Let's make it a color so you guys can see it. I always forget that you're probably watching this on your phone or something super small. So I want to make sure that you'll be able to watch this. So I'm using here this little star tool, and obviously you can add more by dragging this point across, and then you can mess with how deep you want this, or how thick you want your star to be, or you can even go out on the other side, which is really cool. Okay, and then also you can round this obviously. The cool thing is that when you start messing with all these points and bringing in, let me put this over here, and bringing in a tool like Distort and Transform, Poker, and Bloat. I'm telling you, I have a problem with naming things and seeing things. When you mess with this, you can really start creating some cool forms, sort of like that. I think they're really rad. Marsha says, InDesign 90%, Photoshop 10% in advertising. Yeah, that you're in the right environment for that. It's it's cool to have people that use so many different softwares. Cool. So I want to do something like this. Like I said, I want to like mimic like kind of like an explosion type of deal. Also, let's create another form with a different tool. I don't know if you guys have used this tool before. Where is the tool? I'm looking for it. The problem is I don't even know what the tool is called, because like I said before, I'm like a caveman when it comes to like getting into tools and using them. And one thing that I also need to do is every time I update Illustrator, for some reason I don't save my workspace. So I sort of have to start over, and if something moves, I'm toast. Here it is. Here's the tool that I'm looking for. It's the modify tool, the crystallize tool. Here it is. It's in here. Perfect. There it was all along. All right. This tool, I don't know if you guys have used this tool. I saw you ask me what I was looking for after I saw it. But this tool is really cool because you can really, like, based on the points that you have on an object like this, you can really mess with it to make it, to distort it like the way I'm doing it right here. So it's a little bit more chaotic than this other one, but it's still really cool. And the cool thing about it is that it's creating points along the way. And I don't know if what I'm about to do is going to crash my software. I don't think it should, but then you can come in and do this effect back into it after doing that, right? One of my favorite things is just to stack effects on top of each other without obviously breaking the software. So let's go ahead and do that again and try to keep it a little bit cleaner. We're going to be using the start, and then we're going to be opening a little bit. And then let's go ahead and use this crystallize tool. You can also use the wrinkle tool, which makes it crazy like this. But the crystallize one, I like because you can push things out a little bit. The things that I don't want them to cross over each other, like it's doing there. So maybe making them smaller. And this is one of the only tools in Illustrator and Photoshop that doesn't size by pressing the bracket. You have to hold Control and Option together, or Option, I mean, by itself, and then you drag it, and it becomes a different size. Does anybody know how else to change the size of that? I think that's the only way. At least that's the way I do it. Okay, and then I'm clicking through here and adding some more points. You see they're crossing here, and I don't want that, but there you go. I mean, let me go back. Perfect. I just want to add some more points without them crossing. Perfect. Okay, so this is a nice shape. I'm going to save it over here. And then let's go ahead and apply that effect again. We're about halfway done on this show. We're doing good on time. Let's apply that effect again and see what comes out of it. Yeah. I like this. It's having like that kind of like, exploding effect a little bit, but friendly and fun. And if I throw it all the way in the back, you can see what it looks like. Maybe one is in the front, one is in the back. And now when we start applying some color to it, it's going to start looking cool. Yeah, looking like paint splatter. Yeah, it does a little bit. Oh, the help tool helps me so much. Sometimes I have a PC as well, and I used to work more on the PC before, and the PC doesn't have, for some reason, the help tool, and that would get me so hard because I would like look for things that I'm like, I can't find it anywhere. Okay, let's make another one over here. Boom. There it is. Let me throw it to the back. Some of these are very pointy. I'm not sure that I want them to be so pointy. So let me go ahead and make another one of the stars. I'm going to add more points to it. And then I'm going to make it a little bit more bulky. And let's go ahead and apply that more uniform effect to this. Distort and transform. Pucker and bloat. I think that's what it's called. Sweet. So I want this little more uniform effect for it. I'm going to click OK. So we can have some crazy ones, but then it would be cool to have some other ones that are not as crazy. Sweet. So now we have to add a little bit more color to start like breaking these up a little bit more, like starting to like distinguish between them a little more. I gotta say, I'm really liking this concept. It's one of those things that, you know, you have an idea and when you start executing it, you don't know if it's going to work or not. And we're not done yet, I know, but I feel like it's looking good. I want to do a radial effect because I feel like it could, like, you know, look a little bit better if we do it that way. And the only thing we have to do here is just to combine two colors. One of the only things that I don't like about Illustrator when color picking, especially when you're doing gradients and stuff, is that you have to, you know, do it in this letter format. And I really don't love it that much. I feel like it would be good to have the whole color wheel like you would normally have it. I know you can color pick, and in essence, I could bring the colors before, but when creating these gradients, it's a little harder to do it. Where do you start the process to get inspiration for work? And I think that's what Nick is asking. Yeah, when you are making artworks similar to this, do you draw inspiration from different places, or where do you start the process? Yeah, so I've talked about this before. The most important thing I feel like for any type of artist or anybody that's trying to, well, I'm going to, while I explain this to you, I'm going to create a little color palette here that I could pick from, because I'm going to go crazy if I try to do it through the other. This is way easier. Like if I'm able to like do this whole color palette, color picker thing situation, it would be so much better on the inside of the gradients. Maybe there's a way to do that, and I don't know it. If anybody knows, let me know. Okay, so what was I saying? Oh, you're talking about inspiration. Okay, so one of the things that I feel like is the most important is to always be in the lookout for inspiration when you're not creating. Like if you wait until you have to create, it's already hard. Like it's already going and you have to produce something. But if you do it before, it's just so much better to be able to produce something without that added pressure. So to answer your question, I start with, you know, different ideas, right? Of like this thing that I'm creating right now specifically is merging two completely different styles and ideas into one thing, and they are both born in different places, right? So he's just combining those two ideas together. Okay, we have this sunlight over here. It's super cool. The cool thing about this is that you can still edit the original shape that we made. Even though we've applied this other effect, we can still simplify it by doing this. So it's a pretty cool workflow. Not on this one, because this one we totally did it out of this bad boy over here. That's a little bit more messy. But yeah, isn't that cool that we can go back and do that? Okay. We have this color, and I feel like I want a different purple. This purple's too bright. So I'm gonna go ahead and do a slightly muted, like more muted purple. Wait, it didn't do it. Over here, purple. Sweet. And then I want to do the same thing, but I want to add a blue color palette right next to it. So I'm gonna go ahead and do a blue color, somewhat like this. I'm gonna do a lighter color, like a white-ish, and another purple that's a little bit different, something like that. I'm eyeballing these colors right now, but I feel like they could work. So let's go ahead and apply another gradient here. I'm gonna do a radial gradient. What's happening? Gradient. Why is it not letting me pick the color? Double click. Yeah. No. Yes. No. Oh, there it is. But you see, if I do this, it changes the whole gradient. Why is it not letting me change the grading, guys? Oh, here it is. Color palette, color picker, boom. Color picker, boom. Color picker, boom. Sweet. I'm gonna switch the white, the purple. We're gonna go radial. And it's going to be small and going like this. I'm liking this. I think the stroke that I also have on all of these is pretty big. So I want the stroke to be super small. It makes it a little bit softer. Maybe that's too small. I do want a stroke around it. I guess I never explained that, but I made it from the beginning with a little stroke in it. Sweet. So why not choose HSB in hamburger menu? Sometimes that's easier. Okay, so you're saying to change this color picker to HAB? I don't know how to do that. Or are you talking about like when you're in the color picker over here? Yeah, it's probably not a good idea to start doing that in the middle of the show. But if you guys can post it on our Discord, I'd love to learn more on how to better color manage inside of Illustrator. I feel like there's some things there that I could be doing better, especially in color picking. I normally, to be fair, would create a color palette and then color pick. The way that I use Illustrator, I don't use it too much to illustrate. I use it more for like branding work and all that. And most times we have all those colors picked and there's a color palette and it's a little easier. Okay. But I like this. I think if we bring a little bit of this into the Photoshop now and we layer some of it, it's going to look cool. Before we do that, I want to mimic the same tool over here, but do a round and do a little bit more round on the side. Let me try to do another one. I feel like we need another layer there to do this. So I'm going to go star again. I'm going to do less of the star. I don't think it matters if I round the corners or not, because like when we apply this effect, yeah, it might not matter. I like this. I don't know if this is looking like explosions or flowers. What do you guys think? I had the idea of it being explosions before, but to be honest, it's looking more like flowers. Maybe we can distort them a little bit more. This distortion starts looking cool. But maybe if we do something like this, it'll look a little less like that. Okay. And then the gradient, let's apply it again because the gradient also changed shape. I'm going to throw this one all the way in the back behind that one. Boom, and throw it over here. Yeah, I'm liking how soft this is compared to our main character. And how like disjointed it feels in a way. It feels like it belongs to two different worlds. But I feel like that's the cool part about it, right? The rounded looks a little bit more like a flower versus the sparky. Yep, I agree. I kind of like that. I feel like that is giving it a nice touch, right? Maybe because they're also very symmetrical. So maybe I should be a little bit less symmetrical, right? With it to make it look like less like a flower and more like something that's expanding behind the person. Maybe something like that. I feel like we also need another to balance out the color a little bit more. Starting to look too blue. So maybe on this one, what I'll do is that I'll add that. Let me add this one into the mix. Sweet. Maybe like that. And maybe the black is the thing over here that's making it look weird. Yeah, something like that looks very cool. Let's go ahead and add a smaller one here. Can we do it even less? Let me more rounded. Expand this a little bit more. Maybe this one too. Feels more like that. Let me see how I can. Let's make it a little bit less pointy. I don't know if we go to the effect again, it's going to ask me if I want to apply a new one. I'm going to say cancel. I wonder if I can edit this inside of the effects panel. Here it is. Yep, I can. Perfect. Yeah, this is looking a lot like a flower. Yeah, maybe something like that. Sweet. And then this one should be a little bit less of that purple in the middle. I need to improve my background. Sometimes I feel empty. Lucas is saying. Yeah, I mean, it's just the game, right? Of like what looks better, what could be improved, and like, you know, taking mental notes. I feel like it's part of what I was explaining before, of like always observing something. It's like, how can we be looking at things all the time and learning from, okay, these are the little things that I want to improve on my next design, or like this is something that I want to try. I've been playing with these kind of shapes for a project that I'm doing, and I knew I wanted to do something more fun with it that didn't have to be constrained to anything in particular. So it's great that we have this time to create that. And it's kind of like, you know, what I was talking about at the beginning of like taking some liberties to make some mistakes, or like do something that is kind of risky and you wouldn't do it for a normal project, but you're trying to test it for what you're doing. And I think that's part of it, right? So I don't know if I like this better inverted or like that. We have about not too long, about 10 minutes or so, a little bit more than 10 minutes. So I definitely want to bring this back into Photoshop, because the final touch for this is going to be to throw it all in Photoshop. So let's go back to Photoshop, throw it in. It's funny that I took all that time placing those with a lot of care. And now I'm going to have to do that again here. But it's cool. I'm going to throw them in. And I want to give another minute at the end to review the work that was sent on Discord. I feel like if I size the whole thing together, it's going to be easy to place it in the same place where it was. For those of you guys who don't know, you can bring things straight from Illustrator, and you can bring them in different formats. Pixel, you can bring it on the layer format, which is what I'm doing now. It brings each layer individually, and it's a lot easier to bring them in. You can see how the color is a little bit faded inside of Photoshop, or am I tripping on that? Oh, I think it is. Okay, I'm sending this underneath and this on top. That's exactly how we had it on the other side. Sweet, and maybe this one should go all the way down. Yeah, the cool thing about this is that we can tweak it a little bit more here in Photoshop. And one thing that I definitely do want to do is that I want to create some shadows on top of the subject, right? So here's our subject. I'm gonna do something like this, where I incorporate this shape inside of the subject. And then what I can do is warp, and I can play around a little bit more with like warping this shape on this onto the subject's clothing, sort of like that. It's hard to see because it's the same color, but if I go and I go all the way down like this, you see it's a little easier to see now. And we can follow the same steps of like blur. Let's do Gaussian blur now, just to keep it a little lighter and faster. And then we can do a little mask, and with a black brush, just paint out some of the areas that we want to fade out a little bit more. Kind of like that. Yeah, the shadow's looking pretty cool. Also, there are some shadows that we should do on top of this subject. Oh, not the subject, the explosion. Although this is explosion, and the shadow shouldn't affect the explosion, but hey, we're living in a surreal world on this thing that we're doing. We can do whatever we want. So let's go ahead and do that. What I'm doing is the same thing. So instead of painting on it, I'm going to be moving this warping it around the explosion. I'm gonna go image, adjustment, hue saturation. I'm gonna desaturate the whole image. Go filter, blur, Gaussian blur. And let's just pick something like this. If a shadow is way blurry, like if it's super blurry, it means that it's further away. If it's sharper, it means that it's closer to the subject. So something good to keep in mind. All right, and then I'm doing the same thing. I'm just fading it a little bit on the areas that comes apart from the areas that are supposed to be further away. I'm gonna warp it and make this a little bit closer over here. Okay, it's looking all right. It could be better, but I'm gonna press multiply, delete it a little bit more, erase them a little bit more. Yeah, and they're like subtle textures, right? But they're like subtle shadows, right? But it just brings it together a little bit more. I feel like we should also have a little layer here on top of our subject that is a solid color. Let's try that out. See what that looks like. It just brings a little bit more of a stable look. Helps us define with our eyes. Helps us see the silhouette a tiny bit better and distinguish things. I think it's making it way too flat. So let me separate it a little bit by bringing the metal part a little bit up. Sweet. I don't know if I love this one, the color it is. So we can go hue saturation, do a hue saturation on top of that layer. And we can switch it like this. Not the best way. Some of you guys are probably screaming at me for doing that, but it's okay. We can do whatever. And then the background, I don't know if we should make it a solid, super solid, like white or black to like add like extreme contrast. Yeah, something like that could be cool. This could be a really cool little campaign with some right type going around. This could be really a really cool campaign. What else? It does need a little bit of balancing on the subject. The subject looks extremely desaturated compared to the rest of the stuff that's happening. So I'm gonna attempt to do a little fix on that. I'm using a curves layer. I want to bring a tiny bit of contrast first. And then a little bit more clear, like brightness in some areas. I feel like that contrast is helping a little bit. Oh, it's also doing the hair because the hair is part of that layer, right? Yeah, I don't know if I like the contrast so much. The cool thing is that we can fade that down a little bit. This is before, this is after. It's not too bad. It's not too bad. Okay. We move this in a little bit more. Oh, I like how these shadows look over here. You see them on the right side of the face over here. Yeah, that looks cool. They need to be faded though a little bit more, but they're there in the space. I like it so much. Thank you, Lucas. Appreciate it. Thank you, Marsha. I'm glad you guys are liking it. You're liking the shadows. That's cool. Yeah, it's just, we're jumping in, coming up with something new, something that, it's brand new to me. I feel like it's something that I've never done before quite like this. So it just makes it special, right? Something that we made today, made together. Not sure if I want to leave it all black in the background. I think a softer color like this could be cool. Let's go ahead and do something like this and then bring just a tiny bit of light back here. Yeah, because it's going to bring that kind of sunset look. Oh, yeah, sunset, right? Sunset look to this area over here. And maybe we do another color and we actually do a black, but we do a black to the top. It's like, yeah, in your brain, it separates, right? The the bottom and the top really well, and it adds so much depth to it. Okay, it's about time to be done, but I think we have a tiny bit of time to add another shadow and to review what's going on Discord. So hang tight, guys, don't leave yet. Oof, this shadow is so cool, so sharp like that. I kind of want to leave it like that. Maybe I'll do a little bit like this. Sweet. And then yeah, I'm gonna do still erase a tiny bit of it. Just a tiny bit of it. Like that. Perfect. Yeah, all those layers on the shadows like create so much of an impact on separating everything that it just makes it a lot more special, right? What do you guys think? You like it? Are you happy with it? I feel like I like it. I feel like I'm happy with it. It needs a little bit more something on the color for the model. I think I know what it needs. It needs a color balance in the apply only to this model, because like her color palette is very green and everything around her is very purple. So we need to crank up the purples. That's already looking so much better. Crank up the blues a little bit, or maybe it's the yellow. Yeah, I feel like that's working. Look at that. Too much. Maybe like that. I'm gonna click save real quick. Yeah, much better. I agree with you. Much better. Yeah, it's bringing the whole thing together. Obviously, this is something that you could do towards the end, like combining the whole image and doing a filter, camera raw filter, and apply an effect to the whole thing. But doing it like this is also a good way to go. I think I made it way too purple. So I'm gonna bring it down a little bit. Yeah, there's so much work, so more work to do with this, honestly, to make it look the best it could look. But I'm really happy with it. I'm happy with how we use our time today. I feel like it's really cool. Marsha said you can try to harmonize her. Oh, that would be interesting. I wonder what it would do, because there's not really a lot to anchor, like the stuff around to anchor it. Okay, I'm gonna take a look at your work real quick before we go. Before we got 1 more minute, guys. 1 more minute. Lucas submitted this. Oh, Lucas, I love the color on this, man. This is so cool. I love the font that you use. How you pair this kind of like more expressive font with a more traditional font. I love how you're matching the eyes, how the deep color comes from the bottom. Sort of like how we did this color today, with this kind of gradient on the bottom. It looks beautiful. Amazing. You have 2 colors. I feel like I like the blue better. This one feels a little bit more traditional. But both of these are fantastic. Thank you for submitting that. Show Lucas some work on the Discord. Guys, if you are around and you want to post next week your work, you want us to review it, to take a look at it with you, we'd love to take a look at it. Thank you for being here. I gotta go. They're kicking me out. Love you all. Bye. See you next week.